everyone, Dr. Gillespie here to show you how to navigate Pearson REVEL. So to get started in Pearson REVEL, I have made some shortcuts in Blackboard to help you know what assignments are Pearson REVEL related, and also shortcuts to get to the login to get into those assignments as well. So let me flip my screens and I will show you how to navigate and how to do things in Pearson REVEL. So in Blackboard, like I was telling you, the very first thing you see when you log in is your announcements. And since we're still talking about week 1 assignments, I'm going to show you in week 1. But all the other weeks that have a Pearson REVEL activity or activities will follow the same suit. So you can go back and look at the week 1 video if you need to. So I'm going to click on week 1. And then I'm going to go to this link here that says Pearson REVEL. So in Pearson REVEL, there's a couple of things that we will be doing. So this first thing, this is a file. It's a file that kind of gives you an overview of a lot of things that you will be doing in Pearson REVEL. So part 1, the simulation and all the things you'll be doing with the simulation. So as I've been telling you, as you read each part in each chapter, you will be prompted to raise a virtual child who you're going to get to name and to play, to do things and make decisions for. It's very, very engaging and interesting to see how what we do with children really can affect how they will develop as they grow into adulthood. So to raise this virtual child, we have to log into Pearson REVEL. And we have to click on a couple of things, and I'm going to show you in just a minute how to do that as well. However, this file does kind of walk you through a little bit of how to click through some things. So if you click on the file in the attached file right there, I did make some pictures to kind of show you some things that you click so you know, you kind of see what I'm talking about as we do. So this is kind of what Pearson REVEL looks like once you log into the class, but I'll show you a little bit more. So you would click on assignments, and then you have the simulation always right here. So it says raise your virtual child, and then it either says create your virtual child or raise it 0 through 2 years, 3 to 5, 6 to 11, or 12 to 18. And that is all the parts in our textbook. So you raise it from conception all the way up into adolescence. And as you do this, there's going to be prompts in your textbook that ask you about what you're doing with your child. Now, this is the most important part of REVEL right now. Please, please, please do not answer your journal prompts in REVEL. In the e-textbook, it has spaces to where you can write your journal prompts. However, I do not want you to do that because we're going to take our journal prompts and put them in the discussion board so everybody can see what was going on so that they can answer the thinking about the whole child discussion board prompts that we have at the end of the chapter. So they're going to be able to access your answers to all of these questions so we can have this really deep and engaging conversation about things that we could have done better for our child or the experiences that we're having. And without having those journal prompts from the chapters, it makes it a little bit more difficult to have those conversations. So please do not answer the prompts in the e-textbook. You're actually going to answer these prompts in a Word document, and you're going to submit them in Blackboard, one for me to see, but you're also going to put them in the discussion board so your peers can go back and look at them as they're comparing their child to your child and all of these things we're going to be doing. So each part in the textbook, there is a certain section for the My Virtual Child simulation. And it kind of walks you through the pages of the raising your child, the directions, the thinking about journal prompts, and then the discussion that you have with your peers after they post their chapter journal prompts. So for chapter 1 and chapter 2, for instance, this one does not have any. The Journal prompts really don't start until chapter 3, but then it goes from chapter 3 all the way to 15. So next week you will have a lot more journal prompts and a lot more discussion boards with your peers. So this is an example of what your journal prompts would look like. So the journal prompts that you're going to have in chapter 3 is it's going to ask you some questions about you and your child, and then you're going to compare. So you have some questions here that have you comparing what you said to what your peers said and talking about the differences between what you would do with your child versus what they might do with their child. And just remembering to be respectful and thinking about other people's viewpoints, because we all have different viewpoints when it comes to raising children. It just kind of depends. Some parents vaccinate, some parents don't vaccinate, some parents breastfeed, some parents don't breastfeed, they bottle feed. So it just kind of, or some have a milk nurse. So it just kind of depends on all these different things. And we may not have ever thought about them. So it just gives us that chance to have that open conversation about different ways of raising our children and what these aspects can have on them. At the end of this document, you're going to notice that there is a rubric. There's a rubric for your journal prompts and then also for responding to your peers. So when you respond to your peers after the Sunday when you put your journal prompts in, you only have to respond to 2 peers' discussion boards. So you're going to read what they wrote in their journal prompts and you're going to respond to them based off of either 1, the questions that are here, or 2, let me open up part 2 to kind of show you the difference between the 2. So this is for week 2. This isn't due this week, but I kind of wanted to show you the differences and the types of questions that you may see. So I'm just going to scroll down to kind of show you. So for instance, in week 2 in chapter 4, 1, you're going to notice there's a lot more journal prompts, but you have specific questions to think about when you read your peers' chapter 4 post. So for instance, it's about sleeping and motor skills and eating. So you would be comparing, but you would have to read their answers to be able to answer those questions and to have that dialogue and that communication with them about how the children are different or how things could happen or how your child's developing compared to their child. So just kind of showing you the differences between some of the questions. So in week 4, and then always in the social and emotional development section, it always just has you comparing the social emotional development of your children compared to your peers. So just kind of wanted to show you that. So going back to, sorry, that should not have popped up, to the part 1 right here. So you would answer the questions, the journal prompts. Do not do them in the textbook. You're going to do it in a document so all of us can see them. And then you're going to answer the thinking about the whole child discussion board prompts. Whatever prompts are there is what you answer for each of those chapters. And like I was saying, part 1 doesn't have as much going on, but part 2 all the way to part 5, they have a lot more questions and journal prompts for you to think about as you are reading and raising your child. So let me go back into our Blackboard so we can kind of see. So right here, that's just the overview of the assignment. So like I was telling you, you have journal prompts for each chapter. So right here, chapter 3 journal prompts, this is where you would click on the link and you would attach your chapter 3 for me to view. Remember, please don't put it in as a written submission, a right submission, because I can't give you as much feedback about your journal prompts. Please attach your file, click the link there for the plagiarism, and then hit submit. That is all you have to do to submit your chapter 3 journal prompts. And so your peers can see them. That is where you would go into week 1. And I showed you in the other video, you would go to part 1 discussion board, and then you would submit, you would create a thread for it there. Now, getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I wanted to have plenty of time to show you the REVEL part to it so that you can do your questions and things like that. So I'm going back into REVEL, and here's what you are to do. So here's the link to REVEL. So the Pearson REVEL link, you will be completing your virtual child simulation and the Observing the Dynamic Child videos. And I listed the videos here for you. And I tried to make it really simple in REVEL for you to be able to access the activities you were supposed to do there. So all you have to do is click into REVEL. So I just clicked on the link for Pearson REVEL, and here is the Pearson REVEL link. So in the link, this is the one that I sent you earlier in the email. It's also, the directions are also on the announcement page and the email that I sent you. You are to join the course. So to join the course, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is hit join the course. I've already joined, so it's automatically going to take me in. I've also saved my information to make it really quick and fast for me. So you may have to use your access code to just follow the directions that it gives you. And then once you get in, this would be your home screen. So you would just click on your course and it will take you to the Dynamic Child page. So on the Dynamic Child page, you're going to notice that there are some dates. There's also assignments, performance, highlights, table of contents. You can read your textbook in here as well. So you can click on table of contents. You can go to part 1. And you can read the textbook in here. Personally, like I said, I'm a little old school when it comes to books. I like to read my textbook, paper, pencil, write, highlight, all that good stuff. But you can highlight and do things in here as well. All you have to do is go to highlights. Yeah. You can do all the stuff you got to do. Sorry. If you have anything highlighted, sorry. But you can highlight and do things in here as well. Okay. So if you want to read your textbook, you can that way. Now, like I was telling you, as you scroll through, you will see a lot of things embedded in the textbook itself. So information about who the author is, or like getting into links and videos and pictures, and there's diagrams, there's all sorts of things. Now to get to the next page, all you got to do is hit the arrow and it will take you over. You can listen to the audio. There's videos listening to this. This is one of the pages on your My Virtual Child simulation. It kind of explains to you what it is. You can watch the video. Gives you kind of an idea of what maybe one of our children might look like, a sample child at 2. And it kind of explains things as you go through. There's lots of things in here that are very interactive in the REVEL program that you can do. But going back to what I was saying, you can go to table of contents, glossary, all sorts of things. The assignment tab is where your assignments are. So for August 13th, these are the assignments that are due in REVEL. You can click on August 20th and go to the next week, and then there's your assignments in there for REVEL as well. So all you have to do to get to your virtual child and all of the assignments is click. Just click, 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 and they're there. So raising your virtual child, you can click here. So I'm going to click, and it's going to take me over to my virtual child. Sometimes this takes a little longer to load than others, especially depending on what browser you're using. So like I said, Google Chrome is the best to use. So this is an example of mine that I was playing with. So here is Nicholas. My boy is now 2 years old because I've been playing with him a little bit. So for you, For instance, once you get to age 2, you literally can just click continue and it will take you to the questions that you need to do for your simulation. And it will ask. So poor Nicholas just had, or I was hospitalized last week with bronchitis and developed pneumonia, and Nicholas was not able to visit. So it has little scenarios and he grows with you as you go. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard for just a second to kind of walk you through getting started with your virtual child. So I'm going to reset. And it says, are you sure you want to reset this child? Not really, but I'm going to do it for you to show you. So this is what it looks like when you first log in. You are to create your child, which is the first part of the program. So to do this, all you have to do is hit create. And like I said, loading times kind of depend. And it's going to have an agreement. It's just talking about about being 18 and older, all this good stuff. I've already read all this before, but you can read this a little bit later. And then I'm going to hit accept. Then it's going to ask me, what is my gender? Well, I am female and my partner's gender is male. You pick whatever it is that you may have. And then you hit next. And then it's going to ask you about your appearance and things like that, and your personality and your skin and your eyes. So it's literally going to take heredity and all these things, this nature and nurture, and it's going to put it together to make your child. So you just follow the prompts until it gets to the end, and then you will either have a little boy or a little girl, and you'll get to name it and you'll get to start developing it. And you will be prompted when to develop your child. And you can hit cancel, you can go back if you need to do something else, whichever it is that you need to do. But that is how you start to raise your child. So, that is it for your virtual child tutorial for the beginning. It's really self-guided and there's prompts along the way. It's not too difficult. It will take a little bit of time, so don't wait and then think you can do the journal prompts and that. To pace yourself, do a little bit every bit that you can, maybe a little bit every day. Pace yourself. And your child, so for instance, here's my little infant. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl yet, but it has little avatars to show you as they grow. And they get very complex as they grow up. And throughout this entire 6 weeks, you will start with a baby, and then you will have a teenager by the end. So, for the other assignments in this class, your virtual child is important for doing those journal prompts that we were talking about. So the journal prompts, I'm going to show you, as I was saying, that there are places in the e-textbook to do the journal prompts. However, I don't want you to do that. So I'm going to skip down to chapter 3 because that's where some of the journal prompts were. But I do want to talk to you about the video. So as you read the textbook, so for instance, this is chapter 1, I can click on that and it will take me there. But let's say that I read from my textbook and then I want to go over, or however it may be. I have to do my Observing the Dynamic Child videos. So I can click on, let me go back and show you again, the text that I need to, so I can click on the video itself or the chapter. And if I want to read my textbook, I can read it in the table of contents. So I'm going to click, and then all I have to do for my videos is watch the video, preferably after I've read a little bit of before the chapter. I watch the video, and then I answer the questions. And there's anywhere from 2 to 3 questions per video. And if I click the next button, it's going to take me to my next video. So I have it laid out to where it kind of takes, so you don't have to go scrolling through the chapter trying to find your videos. But if you want to read the e-text, you can go to table of contents. And if you're reading the textbook and then you get to a video, you can do it here as well. So for instance, let me go to chapter 3 and kind of show you what I was talking about here. So here's chapter 3. And if I'm going through my textbook and I'm scrolling through and I get to, so it's showing you your avatar for that. And I'm scrolling through and I get to, so like I was saying, if I was scrolling through all of my textbook and I was reading it and reading it and reading it, and then I got to something and I was doing my videos in here, which is fine if you want, and then I get here. Here's one of the first journal prompts. This is where I do not want you to answer your journal prompts. The questions are in your textbook as you go through, but remember, I want you to do that in a Word document to where you submit it to me in Blackboard and then also post it. So don't answer anything here. And then also you're going to notice that there's some other places in here that say things like shared writing and things like that. You do not have to do those. So there's only certain parts of the textbook that we are doing. So we're doing the My Virtual Child, and then we're also doing the videos and the journal prompts. But the journal prompts are not answered in the textbook. They're answered in a different document. So for instance, here's the shared writing. So if you're going through it, the table of contents and reading through the textbook, you might get to something like this or a quiz, and it will say the quiz isn't assigned because I didn't assign them. So I don't want you to do extra work that you don't have to do. So I just want you to be very mindful of, if you go through the textbook, that you might get to some stuff that you don't have to do. So going back to the assignments to kind of refresh your memory just a little bit, these are the only two things that you're doing in the textbook in Pearson REVEL. You're only doing the Raising Your Virtual Child because that's where the simulator is and you have to do it there. And then you're also doing the videos. So as you read, so if you're reading your textbook and you get to a video, you can go into REVEL and do your questions there. Those are the only two things that you're doing in REVEL. So I know I just gave you a lot of information about REVEL and you may still have some questions. However, if you go in and you go through the assignments and you really stick to what I assigned in REVEL and don't get too caught up in the textbook and going, oh, there's a quiz, I got to do that, and oh, there's the shared writing, you're not having to do all of that. It's 6 weeks, only the My Virtual Child and only the videos. And then you're also going to use the journal prompts that you use for your My Virtual Child, which go into Blackboard. So if you have any questions, please email me and let me know. I'll be glad to answer any questions. And in the meantime, just let me know if you need any help.